Did you guys hear the news? Nexon came up with a second testing round for the classic sauce, and they had the audacity to not include me. So here is what we're gonna do to get classic world keys for everyone. Operation Ready Nexon is simple. First, we're gonna gear it up as much as we can. Then, we're gonna locate Nexon's headquarters, gather all the troops outside, and storm it with all we've got. Once inside, we locate Inkwell and start the interrogation process.
Where is it? Where's the trigger? Where is it? Where is it?
After we get the sauce, we're gonna go home and enjoy an unfinished, half-assed version of the game like we all deserve. Now that we have a way to get into the next testing wave one way or another, I want to talk to you guys about two separate topics that I've kind of mentioned before, but I want to go a little bit deeper into them and explain why I think this should be fixed, and it's something that would make sure the game has a better quality, either as a part of Classic Plus content or some kind of quality of life feature, because these two things are things that exist in the game, but they need to be fixed in different ways. Also, make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you enjoy a little bit the memes that we create here and a little bit the commentary and content here. So let's get started. I don't know if you guys remember JMs from the streets in Kerning City or Mr. Smith in Parian. Perhaps you do because you probably saw them around when you were walking in town and why not. But do you guys actually remember using the things that they provide, like literally crafting stuff as something that you must do? Well, probably some rogues do remember him, because from JMs from the streets you would be crafting like Meba or something, because Meba was a very fast claw. So other than that, I don't remember like people actually legitimately using this crafting mechanic in the game. The reality for this kind of mechanic is that it's not as worth it, and people didn't care. Only, like I said, Mebas, and that's it, were being crafted as far as I remember, and other things was just like it was too complicated to just like craft them, too little value for the work that requires to craft these items. By the time that you probably were thinking about crafting them, a friend of yours just got the drop, or you got the drop yourself, or it was not worth it to get all of these ores, and why not? It was just literally sometimes better to buy the items straight up from the store sometimes, especially low level items. So this shows that these mechanics in the game are not as good, and they require a lot of polish in order for people to care about. I understand that these are classic experiences, and you would just be like, oh, just leave them there, leave them as it is, and just like that's it, don't touch them. But why? Why not actually make them worth it and make them work in a nice, good, classic way, so people would just actually interact with it, especially like the newcomers that might come up because of the hype, so people actually find value in crafting all of these things, and why not? So I have some ideas for this system to be fixed, and I want to share them with you guys. First idea has to do with giving you the ability to change the sex of your equipment through crafting. So you know that in MapleStory Classic you can get a drop from a female for a female character or a male character, and if you're a male character you cannot use the female, and vice versa. You can just make it so you can use any regardless of your sex. That's fine, they can just do that if they want to, but if they want to keep it the same way, it would be interesting to, let's say through the crafting system, that you have a female drop and you can just with materials change it to the male version of the drop and vice versa. That would be very interesting, because sometimes you get an equipment that you really want as a class, but it's like, oh man, that's the female version, I cannot use it, or that's the male version, I cannot use it, and that's kind of like a little bit of a bummer. But if you have this system and you get, let's say, a very good let's say female like equipment, like with very good stats and whatever, but you're a male character, you still can use it. You can just go to the crafting station, provide the materials, methods, whatever you need, and then boom, change it to the like sex that you want, let's say in this case male, which would be, I think, quite interesting if added. I don't think this necessarily is like a Classic Plus idea. It could be actually implemented with the game, because right now the game, when it comes to crafting, we will never use it most likely if they leave it the same. We would just like be able to get our drops and go from there. So the crafting system would just like remain as archaic and as bad as it is, which is quote unquote the classic experience, but it would be nice to add something like that to make sure that you would be able to use it, and it would give you a very nice purpose for everybody to use. The second idea has to do with the different stats that you can get on the equipment when you get a drop, which is random. You can get a very good like stat, or very bad, or medium, you know how it is. So this idea has to do with, let's say that you get an X item, and you can use like the crafting system to re-roll those stats, or a specific stat from the equipment. Let's say you didn't like the amount of luck you got on your helmet, you just re-roll that, or you can re-roll the full thing. You don't like the amount of attack that your weapon got, so you can just re-roll those things. And obviously you will make them as expensive or like material heavy as it needs to be to balance it throughout the full like level experience of the game. But like I said, it's just that you have the crafting stations, you go with the item that you got, which let's say had a stat that you don't want, and you just re-roll it, kind of like gambling with the 10%, 60% scrolls. But now the crafting system, which will make it so much nicer and so much worth it, like you can either try to get the drop again or just get all the materials that you need to re-roll. Some people would say the problem with this is that you would have perfect item options for everybody. And that is true. However, if you make sure that it is as expensive or as hard to re-roll, you can add like certain requirements. For example, let's say if you want to re-roll the stat of this sword, you need 2 other swords plus these materials and plus other things to re-roll it. And it will become such a heavy gambling situation that actually people grinding that thing is possible, but it will take time, and you will still need to get the redrops of the items anyway. That could be also a way to balance it. Like for example, like I said, you have a sword and the stats suck. You go with that sword plus other 2 and you say I want to re-roll that sword. It's like, okay, plus the materials, and why not? And there it is. So you need 3 drops to re-roll in kind of that way. So I think that would be also very good. People would use it all the time, obviously, and it would incentivize people to use the crafting system. The next one has to do more with Classic Plus content that I was thinking about. I would like to see the crafting mechanic of the game give you access to fun items with some funny gimmicks that are only accessible through crafting. So you have these special gimmicky items that you can only get through there. So an example would be like, let's say you have a pair of boots that they don't have very good stats, they don't give you like very good stuff, but they have like springs on the bottom, and they give you like some kind of spring quote unquote skill to push you all the way up, like a very, not all the way up necessarily, but to give you a very nice huge boost up. Kind of like when you're like using the springs on different maps. I think you've seen it before, where you go to a map that is like a spring cloud or something, and you just jump on top of it and you just like a spring up, something like that. But a pair of boots that give you that ability. The boots do not have to have stats, like I say, so it would be more of a mobility like kind of item only. And it is just an idea, honestly. I mean, but they can have like fun creating like these kind of items and being creative about it. Obviously, like I said, these would be new items, no classic, but with a Classic Plus flavor. And the funny part about them is that they would not have this overpowered, it's like, oh, you just have to get those boots because you have to get all the way up. No, they would not have stats, or the stats would be very bad. It would be just for mobility, maybe, that you have to change them. Some classes may not need them, or like if you are, let's say, a thief or whatever, that you have haste, you don't care. But some other classes that are slower, like warriors, would love to have those boots to traverse around, let's say, deep looty and things like that. So I think it would be fun to see those items being implemented in different ways. That's just an idea, but it's just to show you how much fun they can have with the crafting system and making it so much better. The last one I was thinking, and I was wondering why this never existed in the game. So you know that in El Nath, if you don't have the snow boots, you would just lie down and just like not being able to train properly. You would need the snow boots to be able to train there. Well, how about a crafting option through a quest in El Nath, where after you finish a quest, there is this crafting guy that would be able to provide you a passive ability to any boots you want by crafting them, so you don't have slippery shoes on the ice. So the same, let's say you have whatever boots, you complete the quest, you get the materials, and you craft yourself this kind of item that when you use it you like kind of like a scroll. You drag it and drop it on your boots, and now your boots have an untradeable scroll, obviously, so you don't have people selling them maybe, but then you just drag and drop it on your boots. Now your boots have the non-slippery mechanic and you're fine with those. So I think that would be also fun and interesting, and it would add so much to the game. The next one is more of a classic plus idea, and it is something that I would call the Victoria Island phenomenon. So let's take a look at this map, for instance, of Victoria Island. So we start here in this map technically on level 10, and we traverse to the different cities like Kerning City, Hennessy's, Perrin, etc. to get our job advancements. And from there we do quests, we level up. So if we go, for example, let's say that you start on Hennessy's and you go right here. Right here, this area is for the hunting grounds and low level stuff, 10, 15, etc. But then if you go a little bit up here to this hidden street right here, you will go to Mushmom area, which has pigs of level 45 or 40 or some range in that area. So if you traverse to Sleepywood, you go to level 20-ish mobs and stuff like that. But if you deviate to hidden streets, you have the golem temple, the rock golem temple actually, and then you can find like level 60 things and why not to do, right? So then you got Elinia here, where we go all the time to the slime tree here to train, low level, very iconic place, is great, kind of like a low level place. But if you venture to the hidden streets here around this area, you find Maladies. Maladies, I love that name actually. You have Maladies and you have zombie lupins and all of that, which are way higher level, 40, 55, etc. Right? So then what do you got? Then you got Perion right here. All of these straight line, very low level stuff right here. But then if you deviate a little bit to this construction, you explore this path, you find a higher level mobs like 60, and why not, like 40 or 45-ish, 60. Then you have the Kerning City area, where if you want to go to Sleepywood, then you find mobs like low level mobs, probably like on the lower end, but on the higher end part of the swamp, you can find alligators that are way higher level, and why not. So why am I saying this and showing you this interesting phenomenon right here? This has to do with the fact that Victoria Island is not a straight line of leveling, which is something that Classic Plus should introduce. These kind of maps should 100% be introduced, and they should exploit this kind of formula. Because after some point, the formula became very straight line, straightforward. Like from this point to this point, the mobs are from this level. It's like you go from here, like this is level X. For example, level 100, this is level 101, this is level 105, 100, and so on. Every little like spot is like for a higher level, and that's it. So there are different parts in MapleStory that do have this like linear formula, and it is fine because they're a map within a map. Like for example, Sleepywood. Sleepywood, you have like a straight line to the Balrog, kind of like, well, you do have parts in the dungeon that you want to explore and find out. It invites you to explore for sure, but yes, it is true that it's kind of like a more straight line, but it is a map within Victoria Island, so it's different. So you have other situations that are part of the classic experience, but I have issues with. Like for example, Leafree. Leafree is an iconic place, is great, whatever, but if you look at it, it's literally a straight line. That's a new map, new continent, but it's literally a straight line to Horntail. And that's it. So you start here at this town, then you traverse this line, and the mobs keep getting higher and higher level, and then you go get to Horntail, and that's it. There is no exploration, nothing interesting, nothing for all levels. And that's something that Classic Plus would need, that Victoria Island formula. I made a video about this like not that long ago, and it's basically simple, the solution. It's creating kind of the same idea of Victoria Island in other continents in the future, like with a classic flavor, if they decide to go that route, which they should, because like I've said before, like just creating the classic, putting it out there and that's it, I don't think it would be enough. I think they should create, if the game succeeds, which I think it will, just as much as, let's say, RuneScape or whatever, old school RuneScape, they should develop on top of the classic idea, completely new ideas that have nothing to do with the main game, but it's just like this classic flavor. And if they do, creating another Victoria Island with the same flavor, like for example, you get to this place at level 40 or level 50, and there is stuff to do for level 50s, there is stuff to do for level 80s, for level 100s, for level 110s. So the range should be vast, and it shouldn't be linear. It could be like an island that you want to explore, like circular. You go here and there. There is paths to walk. Oh, what is that path? What does that path take me? Oh, there is a hidden street over here. That's interesting. That completely jumped the levels. Because like technically, the golden forest that exists in Victoria Island, it's actually kind of like a hidden street, so you can do those things and create those like places that incentivize you to explore. A place like Leafree doesn't invite you to explore as much as Victoria Island does. It literally is just like you train here, stay there, and then when you finish that, you go to the next map, which is like literally next to it, and just train and do that and repeat that, and that's it. Which is, I think, boring, which is fine. I mean, that this is part of the classic experience, let's say Leafree, but what I'm trying to say is like if they do create new content, they should take that formula of Victoria Island into account. So that's pretty much it for the video. Hopefully they do release it like for Christmas or something. Probably they will release it beginning of 2026 if things go well, I think, but hopefully it's this year. Let's just hope. So that's that. I just wanted to put that little piece out there that I was missing, and yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one. Take care.